Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. My name is Steve Torsa. I'm the founder of Wholesale Investor. I'd like to say thank you very much for coming today. I really appreciate it. For those that have actually traveled, I can also appreciate that. I landed on Wednesday night. There's nothing like hosting a conference and kicking off your day at 2:30 a.m. So today, is our 7th edition of Emergence. And the interesting thing for me is it's the 4th time we've actually done it in the UK. And the title for this year is The Era of Abundance. And there's a reason for that thematic, and you're going to see it throughout the different panel sessions, and you're going to see it throughout the different keynotes for today as well. And for the last 2 years, I've typically been starting our events with a panel session, with a talk talking about how this whole market has been driven by fear, and the headlines have been pretty much fear-driven. Right? Whether it be inflation, whether it be war, whether it be, all the different elements that we've had to, I suppose, cover in the innovation area. And whilst those components are still there, the reality is there's a whole bunch of shifts that are taking place, which give us, I suppose, the foundation of optimism for what we see coming forward. And in my communications that I've been talking about when I've been hosting meetups or hosting events or doing, information sessions, etc., I've been talking about how there's effectively 2 different tales from both the founder side and then also from the investor side. On one part for founders, many founders feel like they're beaten up, burnt out in some ways, but on the other side, optimistic. And many founders have gone through that necessary process of making the changes that they've needed in their own business to, I said, either move to profitability, move to break even, or whatever that may be. On the investor side, there's the issue where still dealing with some of the challenges in the portfolio companies, but also optimistic in what's coming next, because right now the foundations are being set for an incredible run for the innovation space. For me, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what drives me when I see these foundations taking place. The best way that I think I can articulate it is that the foundations in place right now is one of the best times that I've ever seen from a company standpoint, whether it be for investors from an investor standpoint, whether you're looking for growth, high growth, or you're looking to access yield. Now is one of the most unique times from an investor standpoint. So, it's interesting. As I said, the title for today is all focused around the era of abundance, but of course, there's still that sort of cautious optimism that goes along with it. So let me give you a quick introduction. So this is why I get excited about what comes next. And I know that, for a lot of us, everything that we were thinking about was changed on November 30th, 2022, right? When ChatGPT was released as a product, and then we started thinking about the potential of AI, we've seen it go across, whether it be the portfolio companies, whether it be the way in which we're using it ourselves, it's changed in so many different ways. It's crazy for me, some of the people that still aren't using it to its full potential. But the reason I get motivated is I think about this, right? And I'm going to use an Australian version to start with, and I'm sure there's a UK equivalent, but this was so easy for me to find the numbers on, right? If you look back 2007, classified revenue, and I'm sure we all remember the papers, we all remember the classified ads, that used to be in it. The revenue peaked in Australia at $1.7 billion, right? By 2016, less than 10% of that revenue was actually going to newspapers. And in fact, the last strategic exit in Australia was when Fairfax sold to Channel 9, right, for $4 billion in 2018. That was the last major deal. Now, what's really interesting is if you think about now the actual value of the companies which have taken over, right, from where classifieds left off. In Australia, it's Seek, which is employment focused, car sales, obviously cars, real estate with REA Group, and then domain with property as well. The combined value of these companies is $49 billion. So it leads you to this one statement. And this is why I get excited about what comes next and why I love innovation so much and why this year's theme is the era of abundance. Innovation first replaces the value of the incumbent and then it accelerates exponentially past it. So a perfect example is that right now, and this is, you see all the different thematics that we're putting on show today in the different companies that are being featured, effectively the convergence of technology platforms. If anyone's followed the work of Cathie Wood, you'll see a lot of these thematics actually in the work that she does, whether it be AI, robotics, energy storage, blockchain, and then also DNA sequencing. And for me, I look at these and you can see that effectively not only is the innovation taking place, but the convergence of those platforms means that the value that will be created will be phenomenal. And Cathie Wood, when she's talked about this, she said the breakthroughs associated with energy storage and robotics alone could add 30% to real GDP by 2030. So inside of that is an incredible amount of value creation. There's also value destruction for many of the incumbents, but most importantly, the value creation sits there and it lies within the innovation side. And then the final comment to say is that AI could actually dwarf both their contributions is something which motivates the hell out of me. And in fact, when I did the meetups, I've been talking about how in this period, the reality is the future startup should be able to move to profitability quicker. They should be able to scale faster, than what startups did, 10 years ago, right? Because of the different tools, whether it be low, no-code software, or the ability to use generative AI for all sorts of areas of the business, whether it be marketing, whether it be coding, even idea generation. This comment for me is interesting, because it goes back to that first statement that I mentioned, is that AI will be the biggest technological shift in our lifetimes, possibly bigger than the internet itself. Now, going back to that first statement in that, first it will replace the value of the incumbent and then accelerate exponentially beyond it. It starts to give you a perception as far as what sort of value is going to be created over the next sort of 5 years, right? And for me, when you think about the pace of innovation accelerating exponentially, if AI will replace the value of the internet and then the applications that will be built on it, then it will also accelerate exponentially. This is the part that should get us all excited, whether we're founders, whether we're investors, or whether we're ecosystem participants, because this is where ultimately the opportunity creation is begun. Now, these numbers are slightly, because it's actually meant to be 28 million pound. But basically, if you look at what's happened with Bitcoin, right, and obviously it's just had the Ethereum ETFs approved, there's effectively already $35 billion of money sitting inside the Bitcoin ETFs already, right? Sorry, 45 billion. And gold ETFs currently sit at $90 billion, right? 92. One was launched 20 years ago. The other finally got approval at the start of this year. This is how fast innovation takes place. And we all know by the end of this crypto bull run, what that value could end up looking like when you add the amount of value that will sit inside the Bitcoin ETFs and also the Ethereum ETFs as well. So today, this is your platform to the day to gain insights into what the innovation future holds. And that's everything that we've designed, as I said, whether it be from the panel sessions, whether it be from the keynotes. It's designed to give that, I suppose, representation of what we can see or some of the trends that we see taking place in the ecosystem right now. So for us, Emergence is an exciting opportunity to, number one, bring you all together. Number two, obviously provide access to some of the companies that we get the opportunity to work with and that we get the opportunity to feature so that you can actually connect directly. Now, that's on what I mentioned to you was on the innovation side. The other cool things that are taking place is just on the business trends. So first one is the Great Succession. Over the next 10 years, we'll see some of the biggest succession of companies where baby boomers are looking to actually transfer, whether it be hand down to the next generation in their family or looking to sell out of their actual businesses. In fact, 40% of businesses around the world are owned by baby boomers right now. I can't remember the exact stats in Europe, but across the UK and Europe, but it's something like 30 to 40 million companies will go through some type of succession transition in that period. This also represents a massive opportunity. Secondly, we've all noticed about how less and less companies are going to list on different stock exchanges, right? The private capital markets is growing at a phenomenal rate. So the expansion of private market opportunities is also another key aspect that we'll be focused on. And then lastly, the rise of non-bank lending. With banks that are tightening up their criteria, it's provided a platform for more and more products to be created and opportunities to be created for people, to provide non-bank, lending products, and then obviously that also creates a correlating financial investment opportunity for investors as well. So the Great Succession, as mentioned, 40% of businesses are owned by baby boomers, right? The expansion of private capital markets effectively will go from $12 trillion in 2022 to $30 trillion by 2033. Just to give you an idea how big this will become. So whether your interest is in private markets or innovation or non-bank lending or succession, the reality is you've got the convergence of all these different demographic trends taking place, as well as these shifts from a marketplace perspective, all coming together at one time. So even though the last 2 years have been absolutely punishing for this space, this is the optimistic part, because it doesn't matter what segment of the market that you're in, there is so much opportunity for value creation. The rise of non-bank lending, this has been so interesting for us as a company. We got very much known for venture related opportunities as a business. In the last 12 to 18 months, I would say about 30 to 40% of the companies that we feature at the moment are actually in this area, in non-bank lending. So whether it be business credit related, industrial property credit, commercial property credit, private equity, or in residential property credit, effectively these have been some of the key areas. In fact, we are now working with some of the biggest private equity funds in Australia as well, because for the first time that I've seen, it seems now private equity wants to provide the opportunity for high net worths and wholesale or accredited investors to be able to participate in that private equity market. So as I said, this is one of the most unique times I have ever seen for investors looking to access growth, high growth, or access yield as part of their investment opportunity. So some special announcements from our side. So first one is that we're actually shifting over from Crisp. A lot of you would have got to know that sort of brand over the last couple of years. We're actually rebranding Crisp to Capital HQ, right? And inside of that really represents a direction of where we're going as a business. As I said, the focus for us is, we got known in the innovation space. The focus for us going forward will be really to provide investors with access to private capital markets in general, which covers that whole spectrum of funds, property, credit, impact as another area, and obviously venture and innovation being as a core for us. From a product perspective, we'll be setting it up so that founders, basically can create their deal room within seconds and then be connecting with investors within minutes. And then also some simple things like everything we think about is how we can actually assist companies to simplify and streamline their communications with investors directly. So effectively, these are going to be some of the product initiatives from our side. We're also announced a partnership with BetterX. So BetterX is providing basically a crypto solution for wealth managers to help their clients get direct access to crypto, and also with the Volute Exchange. So the Volute Exchange is actually a UK-based company. On their board is one of the advisor, or one of the directors or executives of the London Stock Exchange. They are is one of the most beautiful business models I have seen, and it's removing friction from one of the most important areas. So Volute Exchange is effectively helping SMEs that want to basically sell. They are helping the employees and management not only fund, but also it go through that sort of administrative process of that transition to help the employees and management become the owners of that company, as well as facilitating it. So incredible team, strong background in private equity. So make sure you check out Volute as well. We're super excited to be working with them. They're going to have all sorts of opportunities for investors to participate going forward. And yeah, I strongly recommend to chat with the team. So today, throughout the actual conference, I recommend take a photo, share it. and also make sure you network with each one of the companies that are actually featured today. So throughout today, every company gets the opportunity to present for 5 minutes. You get the opportunity to network with them directly. And then more importantly, at the end of today, we've also got the opportunity to network over drinks, at the Mindspace venue, which you'll receive the details of. So once we actually finish all the presentations here, we'll head over to Mindspace and we'll have the networking drinks over there. But the key thing that I always mention about Emergence is that it is a unique place for connecting with people, and it's amazing the amount of investment activity, strategic and commercial activities that typically take place, from this type of event. Now, the keynote speakers have got a range of different areas, whether it be Dr. Andrea going to be speaking on AI, or Gareth talking about sort of exit economics. Likewise, we've got panel sessions from the investment trends of Q3 and Q4 from the VC side, the battle of the funders, right, as far as the options around funding for founders and also for investors, the valley of death, profit versus innovation in life science, and then also the final one, which is one that we've sort of been passionately sort of talking about for the last 3 years, is the energy transition. Basically a debate from both sides, but also the ability to understand where it's at right now and sort of some of the elements that need to take place. So today, I said, you're going to be hearing from a range of different companies in areas. Make sure you take the time to listen to their presentation. As I said, every company gets the opportunity to speak for 5 minutes. Now, whilst they're going to be talking for 5 minutes, the reality is, you all know, is this. They spend their entire lives thinking about, focused on building their business. And today they want to access investment, strategic and commercial opportunities. And so just take the time to actually listen to the presentations. There's plenty of time for networking throughout today and then also through tonight as well. So make sure you come and have a listen to the presentations. They range from everything from life science to agri-tech to marketplace businesses, to renewable energy, to AI, etc. Like and even funds as well is also going to be featured at the event. So enjoy those presentations. As I said, we're super proud to be working with the companies. We know how hard they've prepared for today's event in getting ready for it. During the event, you can access inside the deal room. So just go to capitalhq.app. Right inside that, you would have received an email about this morning. Just simply click on the link. You'll be able to access the agenda throughout the entire day. Inside of that, you'll be able to see all the companies that are actually featured for the event. The software itself, we try and make it really easy to streamline the access to companies and also to network with each other during the event. We've invested into the matchmaking component of it. So the simple design is that investors see the most relevant deals for them, and founders see the most relevant investors for them inside the software. And then the last one is the conference aspect. So as I said, the email that you received this morning and also in the link, you should have access to this. So all you have to do is simply click on the link and then you'll be able to access the information for each of the companies that have been featured today. And likewise, you'll be able to access the networking zone so you can actually meet, mingle and connect with each other. And then the last part that I'll finish on is this. The most beautiful thing about these type of events is that one conversation can change the entire trajectory of a business. The challenge is you never know which one of those conversations is, and you never know which one of those networks that you meet throughout the day. So I always say this at the start because you never know who you'll meet at our events. You can never also fully appreciate their backgrounds, their experience, their networks, and who they can potentially introduce you to. So make sure you network with each other. Make sure all the companies are featured both outside here and then also in the exhibition room inside there as well. Make sure you take the time to go and meet all the companies that are featured today. As I said, it's super important from our side that you do, because even if the company is not relevant for you, each one of you have 10 to 15 people in your networks that could be relevant for the companies. So take the time to provide introductions to them. I know at one of our events we did in Singapore, we're fortunate enough that one of our clients is actually a former Premier of Queensland. And he came to one of our events in Singapore as a presenter. And he got so excited about the other companies, he literally just started calling his friends and in his high net worth contacts to make introductions to them during the actual event. And it was one of the most selfless things that I've ever seen at one of our conferences. But it really summarizes the spirit of Emergence, because Emergence is really about opportunity creation. And everything we're about is about basically empowering innovation, capital, and ambition. That absolutely sits at the core of everything that we do. So, on that note, welcome to Emergence, the era of abundance.